What's up, man?
So here's what we got going on, folks. So Rob doesn't really know what's about to happen.
At all.
He doesn't know anything. But
Right.
here's what we got. So February is Friends Month at Real Life Trading. And this man changed my life more than he'll ever know. He is a dear friend of mine. We hung out on a private island together for over 3 weeks and just spent amazing time together, learning from each other, asking really deep questions, me learning from his story, him learning from my story, and just sharing experiences back and forth. And what I want to do is introduce really the world and specifically our community to what my man Rob is doing with Power 52 and just like his institute, his beliefs, his book that's coming out.
Yeah,
And
man.
he's a dear friend of mine, dude. Rob, truly, man, let me say this again. You are inspiring, you are motivating, you are incredible, and I love you, brother. I'm so happy to have you here.
Man. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I tell you, Jeremy Newsom, life changer, man. I sat with this man for an hour, wrote about 4 to 5 pages of notes, changed my life, man. And he's such a pure spirit. Like he comes like so humble, like he's so open with the way he teaches and talks to people. And he just surrounds himself with like love, man. So bro, we already said we were gonna be like best friends for life.
Facts.
For the first time, we were sitting on the back porch.
Yep, absolutely,
Yeah,
man. Absolutely.
I love it.
So it's been very, very inspiring to meet you. So
Oh, man.
here's what I want to do. I want everyone to just hear what Rob Wallace has done. Just tell everyone a little bit about the organization you created.
Yeah, man. So we started an organization called Power 52. So this was like right after the unrest in Baltimore. A lot of folks remember the riots that happened in Baltimore, and you saw the young people responding to the police brutality and so on and so forth. And myself, Ray Lewis, and Cherie Brooks were kind of sitting watching this destruction and this pain, and we said, you know what, we got to do something about this because we have the potential, we have the access, we have the ability to make real change. So we can't just sit around here and just watch this thing go down. And so we started Power 52 Foundation to train vets, returning citizens, and high school guys and girls how to build solar. So I've been in the solar industry now and energy over 20 years. I've built over 200 plus projects around the world, from battery storage, solar, landfills, you name it. Ray is Ray, right? So he has the access to whatever folks that we need to reach out to for opportunities, for funding, so on and so forth. And Cherie was just so organized and putting pieces together that we came up with this program where we train these folks. They go through an 11-week program, and then they go work in the field. And so right now we've trained over a couple hundred people. We have an 85% placement rate, which is like out of this world. Wow. For like training folks, right? I'm talking about from prison, through the training course, and then in the real meaningful work, man. We got folks from the BGF, Black Guerrilla Family, which is a gang, Bloods, Crips, MS-13s, who come through this program, which we start with the power principles, which are Bible-based life principles. And we teach them those every day before we even get into the training. And so now we have our schools in Maryland, Baltimore, Howard County, 4 schools there. And we just opened our first international school down in the British Virgin Islands, where we have 42 people, of which about a third are women, who are going through this training process right now so that they can build projects in the Caribbean. So it's powerful, man. People's lives change. Yeah.
That's huge. That is huge. And is the word recidivism?
Yep.
How powerful is that? I mean, you're changing those people's lives, because when they get back on this, back out into the world, it's either back to the life they had or another route. And you're doing your best to give them an actual job, because so few people are willing to work with someone who's been in prison or who is a felon.
Right. But you know what, man? I tell people all the time, and all of us have been through stuff, right? Yep. I mean, if we all got caught for everything that we've done, we'd probably be in similar situations. And the difference is we weren't caught, right?
Yeah.
So reality is the people are not, right? All of us can laugh on that. The reality is the people are not bad. They got caught up in a bad situation. But if you can redirect them, if you can change here and then affect here with a skill, they want to do the right thing. They inherently want to be able to take care of themselves. No one wakes up in the morning and says, man, I'm looking forward to slinging this crack today. Or I'm looking forward to murdering this. I mean, there's a few people probably who are sick that might do that, right? But the reality is, if they had a better option, they would take it. And so all
Yeah.
we're doing is giving them a better option, you know. And at the same time, we're giving them a skill that's growing. You know, the solar industry is growing, man, every year. And then now with Biden in office, I mean, you're going to see a boom in clean and renewable energy. And so now we're preparing people so that they can take advantage and have access to this industry that's changing lives. And that's changed my life.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's massive. That's massive. And you mentioned Ray earlier. So people, if you didn't put that together, so that's Ray Lewis, Power 52, right? That's his number, his jersey number, Hall of
Right.
Fame linebacker. So you guys work together. You guys are just friends and connected and just saw a problem and fixed it.
Yeah, man. And you know, Ray has such a good heart. You know, he's been through a lot, but this man, he has been 20 years in the league, used to work out and train every day, 10 hours a day. Then became a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's the best linebacker ever, right? But if you talk to him, he is the most humble, encouraging spirit in the world, and he believes in the mission. And so finding a partner like that, a partnership like that, is just phenomenal, man. It's hard to find athletes and entertainers or
Yeah,
people who have reached these heights, but are still humble enough to want to really pour and give and pour back into people. So
totally.
excellent partner. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah,
love
man.
that.
Yeah.
Love that. And again, not to overshadow this at all, but I want to make sure that you guys are aware when Rob just said that he went down to the BVIs and started an entire new school and class down there. And a third of those are women that want to be and interact with solar. Why you, Rob? What's your experience in solar?
You know, I went to Virginia Tech undergrad electrical engineering, went to Hopkins my master's electrical engineering, and I got into the solar industry in 2007, right when it kind of boomed. And I can remember like walking into conferences, man, and being like the only black guy, the only, you know, the youngest person in the room. But the
Yeah.
cool part about solar, like when it started, there were no experts. It was so new, so nobody could say like I've been in the field 20 years. I've been doing this my whole life. It was brand new. And so it started a level playing field. And so what I was able to do was build projects over time. So I built for University of Maryland, Chimes. I've built for Johns Hopkins. I've built systems in West Africa. I've built systems in Haiti, battery storage system. I build for the military system. So I do off-grid systems or microgrid systems for military bases, like Fort Campbell, so that if the grid goes down at these locations, they still have satellite communication. So
Mm,
I've seen the
mm.
applications and seen the industry grow, but the whole time, man, I never saw a lot of folks that look like me. You might see some that are doing labor, right?
Yeah.
But you never see them like it.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like you digging holes and stuff like this, but you're not really making money off of development. You're not really building like, you know, your company around that. And I was just tired of seeing that. And so when I saw the unrest in Baltimore, I was like, you know what? I can do something about that, bro. I know the stuff. I wrote the curriculum. I know what works. You know what I'm saying? And I know how to teach, just like you, like how you teach me stocks.
yeah.
I can teach solar the same way. And
Yeah.
so by having that gift, you can make sure you can help anyone get to the next level. And that was our goal. And that was our goal. When I tell the class this, it was funny. So I made a lot of money in the solar industry. It's great. It's good business. You know, you're making good money doing solar. But I started making more money when my mission changed. I made more money than when I ever did just developing. So when I started focus on empowering people and less on the money, the opportunities came, the people came. That's how I met Brittany, right?
Yep.
Through that same mentality, man. And just like how you give your classes, you don't charge for the classes. People get to come on there free and learn. And what happens? You get more and more business just because
Yeah.
you're reaching out, changing lives.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so that's the same concept that we teach in the class.
Love that.
Yeah,
Love
man.
that. So fill us in a little bit about solar for people who don't know. Like, give us some like
Okay.
the down and dirty. What are the benefits of it, and why should more countries or locations have it?
Sure. So one of the biggest benefits of solar, beyond just what we have here in the United States in terms of the tax benefits, is that it has an inexhaustible fuel source, right? So
Mm,
you don't need X amount of diesel, you don't need gasoline to run from it. It takes energy from the sun, converts it into electricity that you can use, and that you can then inject in the grid that has some value, right? Per kilowatt hour. And so what you're seeing, because of the incentives here, like the United States, you get 1/3 of your cost of your system as a tax credit, right? So you're buying down your system a third there. The second bucket, you get a third for the carbon credits. So all you really pay for is the 1/3 of the cost of the system, right? But
Mm,
as you build the system, you're now selling the utility a 30-year contract of annuities, 30 years of power production. So our break
mm,
even point on the system is about 7 to 10 years. So after that point, all that electricity sales is free. And so that's why you see so many solar developers and you see these yieldcos that, and some of which went out of business because they grew too fast. So that's the advantage here. You have an inexhaustible source of electricity. I'm sorry, of power or fuel.
yep.
You can convert it to electricity and use it anywhere. Now, what you're seeing now is a convergence into solar plus battery storage. And what that means is not only can I generate it, but now I can save it and use it when I need to use it.
Boom. Yep.
Right. And then with that technology, it allows you to do what's called microgrids, which like we're doing on the island of Anegada. We're going to power the entire island from a solar farm with the battery storage so that they can use that power anytime throughout the day. After a hurricane, you don't have to wait for ships to come in with diesel. All you do is put your panels back out, the sun comes back out, you're producing power. And so these are the advantages of using renewable energy, especially in emerging nations where the infrastructure may not be as strong as it is here in the United States.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Now, you mentioned the island Anegada. Can you tell people why do you specialize in island or off coast
Off grid.
coastal
Yeah,
places? Yeah.
yeah. Well, the first reason is I love the beach.
Reason one.
And I love kite surfing. So I said the
Always
best
get
thing you
paid to
can do.
play. Always get
Right.
paid to play. I love it.
Exactly. So I said, let me develop some work where it's warm. You know, I mean, I can work on my
Yeah.
tan.
Yeah.
I was telling you, Jeremy, I'm trying to get black. I
Yeah.
want to be purple.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So that was one reason. But all jokes aside, man, is when you get down to these Caribbean nations and some of these emerging nations, you really tap into a group of people who appreciate any help you can bring, especially after you look at all the destruction that happened after the hurricanes. These people, man, are like struggling for just motivation and life and hope. You know what I'm saying? So when you come in with an opportunity like this where you can bring a project or a job and then you're training local resources so now that knowledge stays in that country, it's priceless. So now we're investing in people, we're empowering people so they can power the country. And so when you can create that circle where they can train, they graduate or certify and now build their own projects, now they can maintain their own projects. So when I'm gone or to the next island or the next hurricane comes, they have the resources on the island that they can maintain and rebuild that system. And for me, that's the definition of sustainability. That's the
Bam.
definition of sustainability, right? They
Yeah.
can do it themselves. They're not dependent on anybody else. And so that was why we focused on those type of projects.
Empowering the people so they can empower the country. It's a strong statement, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Rob, what's a res?
A res. So HRES.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hybrid renewable energy system. So we call that a hybrid renewable energy system. Basically, it's anytime you're using a combination of renewable energy sources to solve a solution or a system. So we've done them in row homes, for example, in Baltimore, where we have a solar electrical system on the front roof, a solar thermal system on the back, so it heats the water, and then a small wind turbine on the roof for areas that have the rooftop decks that can also generate power. And so it's anytime you combine multiple types of renewable or clean sources into one to power a house, a business, an island, that's what's called a HRES.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, love it. That's so cool. And I know that I sent you
That's my
some.
next tattoo.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I have a few people who were talking not too long ago. I'll send you some text on it about
Sure.
like cryptocurrency mining and using their miners right now. Most people, they use their miners just normally, right, through normal
Yeah.
electricity, but being able to use, again, solar power or geothermal or wind turbine or hydroelectric systems to not only do cryptocurrency mining, but just any type of electricity sustainability, man. Like, what's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that going forward?
And you can also put it anywhere, right? So if you're building like Amazon built one of their data centers in like Northern Virginia. So they have 1 million square foot rooftop. So you can put a 10 megawatt roughly system on the roof that's powering that facility. So there's no carbon, you're reducing the carbon footprint. You don't have to worry about the utility. So it brings down your point, basically your point load or your capacity. So for example, you build a facility out on the end of a power line. You want to put this big mining system in. And the utility says, well, look, we only have, 13 or 33 kV lines or power lines that are running to that facility. And our power lines can't support your building or your infrastructure. So you're going to have to pay us $20 million to bring in a substation to put next to your manufacturing facility or your mining facility. The other option is you build your own solar farm right on the roof or next to that property. So now you reduce the amount of load that your building produces or consumes, which reduces the load on the utility line. So now you don't have to pay for that substation. You can just pay for solar and you get a reduced cost of energy, you get a dependable cost of energy, you're saving the environment, and then you can also monetize all the tax credits. So that's the advantage of having like rooftop solar, especially with storage.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh boy. And you've also raised money and you're planning on doing all types of projects in the future as well, because you mentioned earlier not only the tax credits, but also there's a certain point where it starts to cash flow extremely well, which is intriguing for investors because you get both sides of the coin. You get to help people. You get, your company's bringing in all these phenomenal human beings that just want another shot at life. So there's that aspect of it.
Right.
There's the aspect of, oh wait, I'm actually putting something, I can put money towards a country or a community that needs it, and I can get a return on that.
Right.
What does that look like for investors?
Let me tell you something. So here in the United States, after you add the tax credits and the carbon reduction piece, you're looking at like a 7-year ROI, pretty much. So most of our contracts though are 30 years. So from year 7 or year 8 to 30, you basically have positive cash flows all the way out, right? And even if the system begins to produce less, it'll never produce less than 85% of what is registered to produce. And if it does produce less, the manufacturer of the panels will come in and replace the panels. So you have pretty much a 23-year cash flow window that you can project all the way out. Now, I forgot to add this earlier. When we talked about the Caribbean, here's the other benefit. Here, we pay between 7 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity. Guess what they pay in the Caribbean? 33 cents.
Oh.
Per kilowatt hour.
Oh, that's
right.
Wow.
Right. So even if I say, hey, Mr. Utility, pay me 22 cents per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
And the cost of enormous. Right. Not only that, but check this out. The sun hours, which tells you how much your system will produce, is twice what it is here in the United States. So in Maryland, for example, I might get 1,000 sun hours a year. So if I take those sun hours times the production of my system, I get X amount of kilowatt hours a year. That same system in the Caribbean will produce twice as much for the same investment.
Now here's a dumb
question. Power.
Yeah, here's a dumb question. Why do they charge? Why is it so much higher in the Caribbean?
One, because they can, right? Because they're the only game in town.
Okay,
right?
True.
But two, the other piece is that between the infrastructure needing so much upgrades and the cost of diesel gas to get it there, you're paying for the shipping. You're paying for the infrastructure. So there's a lot of line losses in the utility side because the infrastructure is so bad, the power by the time it gets to the person is so depleted. There's so much loss, right? And then the last piece is you don't only show in town. Some folks are paying, 30% of their monthly expenses, their utility bill. Just crazy to me.
That's high.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
That is wild. And again, if anyone has any questions for Rob, feel free to throw them into the chat pane because the chat pane's blowing up right now, man. It is on fire. Everybody says they want to hang out with you.
I want to hang out with Jeremy. I'm gonna come out here and check you out.
Can you fill us in on the solar panels themselves? We have a lot of, I think, precognitions that say that solar panels are expensive to create and they haven't been innovated that much or that frequently recently. And so they're going to be better to do solar 10 years in the future than now. What's your thoughts?
I hear that argument a lot. What I say to folks is, listen, if you could, let's think of gas as an example, right? You've seen the price of gas like fluctuate up and down. For those who don't have Teslas or EVs, you've seen the price of gas go up and down. But let's say you could lock in half your gas tank at, I don't know, $1 a gallon forever for 30 years. Even if the market was going to go up and down and technology was going to change, If you knew that half of your gas was only going to cost you $1 a gallon, wouldn't you lock it in? And
Yeah.
that's essentially what solar does. So even if technology changes, if the policies change, once that system's built, once it's commissioned and turned on, it will produce for 25, 30 years at the same cost to you. Whatever your debt service cost is for the first 7 years, after that, it's fixed. And so what I tell utilities and I tell municipalities, if I can fix half of your load, your cost at 7.5 cents for 30 years, who cares what the market does? It can go up, it might go up to 13 cents. Hopefully it goes up higher than that, and then you really appreciate what I did for you. Or the chances are it could go down. But historically, the cost of power has not gone down. I don't care if you go back 20 years, it ain't going down. So basically what you're doing is you're just hedging against the future costs. So in terms of the technology question, at year 10, technology is better. Guess what? You go in, swap out more efficient panels. Now you're producing twice as much. It's still paid for. You still pay for the new panels and you continue to sell the power. Now you're just producing more. So there's no reason to not start now is my point. Why you have the 26% tax credits, why you have the carbon credit that you can get, that's what really gives it a 7-year ROI. Yeah. If you don't have those things, you're closer to 14.
Yeah.
That's why you got to move now, next 4 years. Yep.
Craig asks the question. Oh, it's 1 second. He says, is graphene changing the game?
Say more. Graphene.
Yeah, I don't know what graphene is. I don't know if that's maybe it's a typo. Craig, re-ask that question. And maybe graphene might be like a type of something you create. Graphene.
Oh, battery storage.
Okay,
I got you. Like that. I think so. I mean, the cost. Batteries used to cost between $500 to $700 per kilowatt, and now I'm seeing them around. You know, I'm a nerd, Jeremy. You know, I'm an engineer by trade. So
bring it.
But now I'm seeing them around like $100 to $200 per kW. So the pricing is becoming more efficient for battery storage. Before it wasn't. The other thing you see though is that the resiliency piece is huge. It's like, you know, when a country goes down for a week, a lot of people die, man. And it's not so much because there's no electricity, but now there's no water filtration. The hospitals are down. You know, so little things that we can fix, we can't because we don't have electricity. One of the examples I give is like, what's power worth when you don't have any? Whatever, right? Yeah. You want to pay whatever to keep that CT scanner on or keep that blood dialysis machine on. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the batteries come in, because now it gives you the ability to actually store that power. And that's priceless when you're in an emergency situation.
Love it. Oh man, so many good questions coming into the chat pane. What is the average cost of setting up a 70 kilowatt hour system?
You said 70 kilowatt hour?
Yeah.
That's gonna be like enough for your house. That's about the size of like a Tesla battery. You're probably looking at between that and the solar, assume it's like a 4 or 5 kW system, probably 10 to 14 grand, maybe the cost. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Hector says, what's the most innovative publicly traded solar company?
Man, that's probably a question for you. I guess it depends. You know, it's funny, like you've had so many companies, like I'm just shooting straight, go out of business, right? Because they've had technology before its time, like Solyndra. You had the Sun Edisons that went out of business because, you know, they grew too fast and bought too many bad projects that filled their Yoko. That's a good question. I like, let's see. That's a good question. I got to think on that one. I think I like LG, especially their battery division, because I went to visit their plant over in South Korea in Seoul, and their operation is just smooth, man. They just have so many systems and processes in place, and they guarantee their systems and their equipment for 30 years. So if I had to bet on something, I'm thinking that, but I'm trying to think of an innovative technology. I got to think some more on that.
Sure. Is there like, I mean, the ones that come to mind, obviously First Solar and then Enphase Energy.
Enphase
Canadian
is cool.
Solar, Canadian Solar.
Enphase is a good one because it allows you to do two things with one connection. Connect your solar panel and has a built-in inverter. So essentially you can take the box, let's just say this is like your inverter, and put this under the panel, and you can basically daisy chain your panels. And that last wire that comes down to the line is already AC. It's already 240. You can tie it right into your breaker box at your house, and you're already connected. And so it makes the installations really quick and really easy. And they've been around a long time. They've been around a long time. So that's probably a good one.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. I'm scrolling through all these chats. K-Dog says, do you prefer micro inverters or power optimizers, and any preferred vendor?
I would say I like string inverters versus micro inverters. So micro inverters like Enphase, where you have one inverter for each panel. Your string inverters is just for your entire string. So if I have 14 panels in 14 modules in one string, and then I'm going to have 10 strings in the one combiner box, which goes into that string inverter. The good part is you bring your points of failure down. So if I lose one string inverter, I only lose 14 strings. If I lose though my centralized inverter, which is like for the whole system is down, right? The micro inverters though, you lose the economy of scale. So everything that I've built, I don't really do residential. Everything I do is commercial and utility scale. So we're talking 10,000 panels, 20,000 panels, so on and so forth. To put in 20,000 micro inverters is impossible. It just not work. Your labor costs will go through the roof. So we do string inverters or we do centralized inverters for our systems. We use Snyder a lot. I like Snyder. Okay. I like SMA, like the Sunny Central. Sunny Island is good. Those are the two main ones that we use.
Gotcha. I love it. Logan asks a really good question. He goes, can you, have you ever run up against resistance in the developing countries from the fuel vendors that have cornered the energy market?
Heck yeah. I remember we went to Africa one time. Ray and I were in Ivory Coast, and we were meeting with the president of CIE, which is like the utility there. And so we go to we're like driving through the hood, man. I'm talking about like shanties, like, people just homeless, walking around the streets. And you get to this guy's house, you see this big fence, and you see one of those, like in the movies, those pickup trucks with that 50 cal in the back, the 50 cal,
really?
The whole Rambo thing. Yeah. It's sitting at his gate. So we go through the gate. We had our own security. We go through the gate. When we get to the gate, man, white Lambo, red Ferrari, G-Wagon, like 17 different trucks and vehicles in there. This is the utility owner. This is the president of utility.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He had his own security, right? Made our security give our guns to his security. And then we went in his house so we could eat. And I'll tell you what was crazy. My point of the story is they're making so much money off the people. We get a lot of resistance. They sit there and they'll talk and say, yeah, man, this is great for the people. This is great for the country. But getting them to actually transact when they're making that much money is tough. It's tough, man. And so we haven't had a lot of success there in terms of big countries. That's why we focus on the Caribbean a lot. These smaller countries where they don't have as much power but need the infrastructure, that's where we focus on for that exact reason. Great point.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Logan. Thanks for asking. Cassidy Wong, now I'm probably going to mess something up here, but she says, is there a lot of EMF produced from the solar panels and panel box?
So
no idea what that is.
Electromagnetic frequency or that comes from them. I would say no, because on that side, you're dealing with DC power. Typically, you're going to have that on AC power, which is addressed to your power factor. So to break it down in regular terms, there's not a lot of emittance on the DC side. So the panels take DC electricity, direct current. It goes up to the inverter, which switches it from direct current to alternating current. Then through a transformer, which takes it from whatever voltage it is up to the grid voltage. And then that's where you're going to have that EMF stuff. That's where you're going to have power factor issues and so on and so forth. That's why there's so many requirements around how high power lines have to be because of that EMF coming off those power lines. So your higher voltage lines are going to be higher in the sky so that they don't contaminate and pollute people, so on and so forth. Your lower voltage lines, like your 13 kV lines, are going to be about 20, 25 feet in the air because they don't have as much power coming through them. But we don't see that much in the equipment. No. These are great questions. I feel like I'm back in engineering school. I thought I was done with engineering.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I love it. All right. Well, give us your thoughts on Tesla, man. The Powerwall. You know, I mean, they're really heavy into solar. They want to do so much with electricity and battery storage and solar walls and solar panels. What's your thoughts? Give us your update.
I think it's phenomenal. I actually ordered a new Tesla that gets here today. So
My
I'm super
man,
excited. I'm
there
super
you go.
excited about that. I'm like you, when you say buy the stock of what you own.
What'd you
The
pick
stuff
up?
you
A Y?
use, an S. Got an
Okay.
S.
The
Yeah,
plaid? You
yeah.
get the, no, that's not out yet.
Nah, out yet. Nah.
Okay.
I
Right
want
on.
that pickup truck, but it's not out yet.
Yeah.
But I think the technology is great, man. The adoption from when it first started in 2013 and what you see now is phenomenal. Like back then, you didn't have as many charging stations, you didn't have as many places where, like you said, you could charge. The technology was great, but it was just wasn't built into the regular use of society. Now you got charging stations everywhere, parking garages, the malls is free. You know what I mean? So I think it's an excellent technology that's here to stay. The battery technology is phenomenal, right? It's a little bit pricey for commercial applications, but
Mm,
it's great for residential and small commercial.
mm,
So I think that's great. I think if they can continue to grow that technology, the storage piece is not going to go away. I think in the future you're going to have homes that basically provide their own grid, the whole smart grid system, where now you're producing your own power, but if someone else's power goes down, they can pull from your system through the grid and use it. The utility will be able to control those functions. The same way when you plug your Tesla into your house, you can also use that power in your house if for some reason your grid goes down. So through your power wall and through the Tesla, you can also power your house. So I think it's a good technology, man. I know it's here to stay. Definitely.
mhm, mhm.
Yep.
Love it. This is a good question. I don't know the answer to either, but Adonis says, what's the plan when all the batteries go bad?
That's a great question. One of the businesses I tell my class to consider is recycling solar panels and batteries,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there is, after that 30 years of life for the solar panel, we're going to have a crap ton of solar panels sitting around that have to either be recycled or disposed of in a good way. Now, one of the things that I've heard and what I've seen people also do with some of these systems, like the batteries, that after a while they begin to deplete, they send them or donate them to countries who don't have electricity. And
Okay.
so, although they don't have the same efficiency that they had before, they're still producing something. And so, for somebody who's living in a hut that has no electricity, two solar panels and a battery bank that even if it has half capacity is enough to keep an LED light on for 24 hours or help them to be able to study at night and so on and so forth. So, great question. Great question. I think it's a great business opportunity for someone to look into going forward.
Yeah. Now here's a question. I'm sure you've watched it. I'm assuming you have. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. Have
I
you
haven't
seen
seen that one yet. I haven't seen
Bro,
it.
put
I
it
gotta watch.
on
Let me
your
write it down.
list.
Let me write it down.
What? Get the tissues ready though. Zero
Okay.
chance you don't cry. What a film.
Okay.
Yeah, what a film. Great cast. But just thinking about Wind. So I mean, what
Yeah, wind is a phenomenal thing. Also, I mean, I'm not sure in the movie did they do like the large, big turbines, or was it micro turbines for like the
micro.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know who has turbines? Your boy Richard Branson.
Yeah. Yep. RB.
Yeah, yep. He's got some nice. He's got three, I think 500 kW turbines on his island.
Yeah, they're
Hmm.
85% off the grid right now because they have.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they
it's
have
the
solar and
Caribbean.
wind.
The
Yeah.
wind is all the time. Like we look at HRES systems. Like remember I told you about the homes in Baltimore that we did. Because typically when it's sunny, it's not windy. But when it's windy, it's not sunny. So at night, when the wind is jamming, you're still picking up power from that wind turbine. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the benefit, like especially in the Caribbean. It's all you know how Buck Island is. It's windy
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why we usually combine the two. You do wind for the evening or during storms. You do sun for when it's sunny outside, and both run them into the same battery. Yep.
Yeah. Adonis says, "Have you seen birds hit those?"
You
Sorry,
know what?
birds. You know, I don't
We
know.
did a study on this. Like, it's funny. When I do my community meetings, I get asked a lot of the same questions. And it's like, these are like not my backyard historical questions. So the
Yeah.
answer is more birds die from flying into buildings. There's a study that says that X amount of birds die from that, and very few die from those wind turbines. Some do, but the bigger ones, they spin so slow, most of the time birds can avoid them. And
Yeah.
the smaller ones just have a small footprint. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. I've never thought of it before.
now, you know what I've seen? I've seen snakes get fried. Like they climb up into the combiner box in the system, they get fried. I've seen squirrels.
No one cares about
Um,
snakes though. Everyone's like,
yeah,
oh,
I know. Every
but
once in a while, a goat to get through the fence, start biting on the lines. I
mhm.
mean, so we've seen different things in DC power, man, to kill you. So it's definitely nothing to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
How many are they called employees or contractors? But how many people do you guys work with on Power 52?
So we used to have a model where we employed a lot of the graduates from the training program. But what I found was that it was better to establish industry partners, which are folks that we build projects with, and we give
Okay.
them incentives that if they hire the folks in the program, then they get first bid on the project. So, for example,
Uh,
in BVI,
mhm.
the contractors who want to work on the Anagata project have to use folks who graduate from the training program. And
Mm,
that way they get long-term employment, they get on the job training, and then we can get more people through the pipeline. So we keep some of the all-stars, but most of them get placed with one of our partners. So right now we have about 25 people or so.
yeah, got it. Okay. But no, that makes sense. I mean, there's so many other companies out there, like you're not going to take them all. So you're like, hey, you can
Yeah,
go get a job because that's the point of what the goal is really
the
is to
program,
have them and
right?
get them into a field where they can start working on solar immediately.
Exactly,
Now,
exactly. Yeah.
what positions do you normally train for in this world?
So when they come through our program, they get their NCCER construction certification. They get their NAVCEP certification, which is national standard for solar. They get their OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, and then they get a Power 52 energy management certification. So my point is, they come out of the training program with meaningful certifications that they can use to get in the industry. Some of them go into straight up construction. Some want to go into design. I've had guys who have came out of the program, went into engineering school, and now do designing. Some go into sales. I got guys and girls who come through the program who go right to Vivint and are doing residential sales.
Mm,
So although we train them across the board for solar, they also can branch out into different sectors, and that's one of the benefits of the program. Yeah.
love it. Can you let people know the costs for each participant and how that works?
So right now it's covered under grant funding in the British Virgin Islands for an in-class training. It's about $10,000 a person. For the part-time training, where you have a part-time teacher and you come in for labs, it's 2,500. And then we're working now on like a self-paced training where anyone can do it everywhere. It'd probably be about $499 for that.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And do they pay for that always? Is it always grants? Is there some
It's a
scholarships?
combination, man. Like someone, like for example, in BVI, Unite BVI, which is the Google Foundation, covered a portion of it. Power 52 covers a portion of it. So folks who can't afford it, um, we will provide them a scholarship, but the ones who can, we make them pay. And the reason why, what happened was in the United and here in the States, we have folks, man, with like full-time jobs and doing all this stuff who were coming in and wanting to take the class, and it was reducing how many people we could actually help who were unemployed or underemployed. And
Mm,
so what we started doing was we use the people who could pay, they pay, and that helps fund the folks who can't pay. And so we try and keep a good mix of that so that the groups can not only gel, but that each person within that training cohort can help mentor someone else in that program.
got it.
Yep.
Now I know what you guys are thinking. If you guys are out there thinking, "Oh man, Jeremy needs to be up in there teaching them stocks and finance," don't worry. Me and Rob are already working on
hmm
that. Don't you guys sweat it.
That's right.
We
I
thought
told him we're
that
gonna
months
have him in
ago.
there.
Yeah.
I was telling my class about you yesterday. We're
Yeah.
talking about just some of the investments, talking about the whole GameStop thing, and I mean GameStop and some
Yep.
other things. And I told him you were going to be in there soon to kind of explain all this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. Yeah, totally. Because I mean, again, it's all about education. That's what you're
Right.
doing is you're giving people hope through really specific, really precise education with great principles and great backing and great information.
Yeah.
You know.
Amen. Yep. Definitely.
Heard you wrote a book recently.
Yeah, man. It's called 52 Principles of Power, which is kind of behind me. We
Yeah.
uh we have these principles that I've seen throughout my career that I believe have changed people's lives, and it's a lot of it's basic stuff that we learned as kids in terms of respecting your neighbor or working hard, or having respect for your country and your flag. But a lot of folks who come through the program never had that taught to them for whatever reason. Some of it was their background. Some of it was they got locked up too early. Some of them just didn't care until now. And so we spend about 30 minutes of the beginning of the class. I actually teach them now to go through a power principle each day and how it applies to their lives. And then we go into the actual training, because until you change their character and what's in your heart, you can't pour into their mind. It's almost like a block. But once you can open their heart to what their true potential is and what their true value is, then you can begin to pour into them and give them seeds, man, and water them seeds. And so I took that and turned it into a book, because I've seen it work. I've seen it take guys who might have been in for murder or other things, from that to productive people in society who are now, taking care of their kids and bought their first apartment and, working in the field and so on and so forth. And so I've seen it change people's lives, man. I said, let me capture this and put it into a book that people can use.
When's that come out?
Should be out in about 2 weeks. We're finishing up now. Let's get ready to go to production, and then we'll be sending it out. Yeah, man.
There you go.
I'm following your footprint.
My man, you're doing it. You're doing it. So if
Yes,
you're
sir.
watching this interview, make sure to go to Amazon and set a reminder to go pick it up. Yep. Just to support any author, but of course, I mean, just to read and learn. And again, you're going to have every book, right? Everything that anyone writes, especially someone as motivating and inspirational as Rob Wallace, you're going to have the ability to learn one thing that'll change your life in every single book. They'll give you new direction, new path, new insight, new friends. So, man,
and that's what I learned from you, man. Like when we spent that time on the island, the most important thing I took from you is love. Love overarches everything else. When you respond to someone, are you responding in love? When you're building a project or helping a community, are you doing it in love? And if you use that as a filter, it changes a lot of stuff, man. And that was deep when we talked about that. Yeah. So that's a big one.
That's huge, dude. That's huge.
Yeah, man.
We got 2-3 more questions. I got you for 3 more minutes.
Okay.
Ron says, how are you recruiting instructors, or do you use third-party training?
No, so we recruit instructors. It's funny. Some of the instructors actually came to the class and then they loved it so much. We put them through our master training program and they became a master trainer. Some of them just had experience of being in the energy field for, working for utility. And so they understood a lot of the basic concepts of construction. Then we just trained them as a trainer on solar, and then they were joining them from there. But we're pretty open about it, man. I mean, people come with different experiences and different backgrounds. The key is, for me, is one, do you believe in what we're doing, the mission, right? Because you're dealing with a population that's typically not easy to train. So do you have that bandwidth to be able to do that? And then two, do you have the technical ability to be able to do it? And so we screen our trainers very well, but thank God we've had the same trainers for the last couple of years, and it just keeps growing from there.
That's wonderful. And give us some insights on how people can reach out to you, man. Cause I've gotten like 9 people in the chat and they're like, dude, I want to help you do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
Logan's one of them. Logan says, if he's interested, I have a lot of insights and contacts in Haiti, worked there for 13 years. I'd love to help in any way I can. So yeah, if you guys are pumped up by this and you want to just give and provide and help, whatever that looks like, what's the best way that people can connect with you, my friend?
So the best way to connect with me right now would be through my email, which is rwallace@power52energy.com. I'm launching a new website this week, robertdanielwallace.com, based off of what Jeremy.
Get it, baby.
Yeah.
Get it.
And I saw a draft of it this morning and I was pumped, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that'll be online early part of next week. It'll be robertdanielwallace.com. And under that, you'll see my consulting work. You'll see the training piece, and then you'll see the philanthropic piece. And you'll be able to reach me from there. So give me like a week or so, and we'll be rocking and rolling.
Yeah. I love that, guys. I love that because again, you can feel this guy's energy. Type of 1 to the chat. And if you know this man's changing the world now, continue doing so in the future. These are the people that we have to surround ourselves with. Amen. People who are true love, integrity, caring, and focused individuals.
My brother. Yes, sir.
Dude, love you so much, man. Thanks for inspiring me.
You got it, man. Love y'all, man. Keep doing what you do, brother.
You got it, brother. Have a great one.
Okay. You too. All right, man.
All right, squad. That's your boy, Rob Wallace.